So thank you guys so much for coming to today's live trading session. Today is April 23rd, 2019, and I know we haven't had a technical Tuesday session in a while, so we decided to have one today. It's very important that we stay consistent and show you guys what we believe may happen on both the Euro USD and US dollar Japanese yen. But good morning, Brandon. Thank you for coming. Brandon's one of our premium VIP members. But what we're going to do is look at these charts. We're going to look at it from a technical perspective, and then we're going to share with you guys what we believe may happen or what we would do if we were trading these pairs. But good morning, Alex, again. Okay, so I guess with that said, we can begin today's session. Now, we're going to make this really brief because really there hasn't been too much liquidity or too much movement in the market, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let me describe what's happening right now on the Euro USD or the fiber. And as you guys know, we're looking at the daily time frame, and as you guys can see, a few weeks ago we had this strong fall or slide to the downside to test these lows. But we had a retracement on last week. We saw price retrace. Really for the past 2 weeks, we saw price retrace, and it corrected into this zone of resistance that we had isolated. We knew that price was going to somehow respond right around this zone due to a plethora of reasons that I can't get into right now. But we also saw that the stochastics was overbought. If you look below, you can see that we have this oscillator at the bottom. This is our slow stochastics. It was overbought. So then we knew that eventually a reversal or a continuation of this slide to the downside should eventually take place. And we did see that move or break to the downside on Thursday. I believe it was Wednesday we entered a sell order. If you guys are a part of the trading channel room, or if you guys do pay attention to our trade signals, we did enter a sell. I believe on Wednesday, price almost hit our stop loss. I believe it was 1 pip away from getting stopped out, but price did move in our direction. And then, you know, we saw this strong move or push to the downside or slide to the downside on Thursday. But ever since Thursday of last week, we saw price sort of in this consolidation. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But if you go to the 4-hour chart, let's do that right now. We can either go to the 4-hour or the 1 hour. It really doesn't matter, but let's just do the 4-hour. We can see here that price was in the midst of what we would call a complex pullback. In other words, what we saw was this AB equals CD type pullback, where we had this leg A, like leg A to B, and then we had this leg C to D. And A to B is sort of similar in length or distance than C to D. And if we was to draw this in, you'll be able to see it. So then let me just quickly just draw this in. So then we had this move right here, this A to B move right here. And if we clone this line right here, we can see that that move A to B is very similar to this next impulsive move right here, which is from C to D. So then this is what you would call a one-to-one measured move or a harmonic move, because it's very similar in price. So then right around here, you know, the price encountered some sellers, and we're now seeing this push to the downside. However, the one thing we have to be mindful of is that yesterday there wasn't really too much volume in the market, mainly due to it being sort of like a holiday in Europe. It was Easter Monday, so there wasn't really too much volume or volatility in the market. I believe the Euro USD only moved about 20 some pips yesterday. If you draw in this range right here of this of the highs and lows of that consolidation, you could say, if you just measure that, you can see that price did not really move that much on yesterday. So that if you measure it, we can see that price only moved about 20 pips for the day. So we really didn't see too much price action on yesterday. So, of course, that low liquidity, that low volatility is still carrying on. But I believe we should see a break to the downside eventually. And if we draw in a trend line, let me just do that right now, of these lows right here. We can see that there is a trend line that's being formed. And we have what you could consider to be a bearish flag, which is a trend continuation pattern. So then if we do get a break to the downside, if we do see price break this trend line to the downside, then we can expect more momentum and for price to slide and continue lower on this particular pair. So then this is what we're expecting, or this is what I would love to see. I would love to see price fall lower and break this trend line. And if it does break this trend line, and if you guys want to, you guys can enter another short upon the break and close of this trend line. You can place your stop behind this swing high up here. That's if you want to. We're already in a sell position now. We went in pretty large. So then we have enough position in the market to have this trade turn into a very, very big winner or nice winner for us. But if you guys want to stack another position on top of your original position, if you guys did enter that sell, you can do so upon the break of this ascending trend line. But if price breaks this ascending trend line support, which is this flag support, because what we see right here is what you would call a bearish flag pattern. If price breaks this support, then of course we should see continued sliding to the downside. Of course, that's the hope, but I'm banking that price should eventually continue sliding lower and then hit our target down below. But we should see we've been bearish on the Euro USD for a while. Remember, a few weeks ago we said that the Euro USD, we're expecting the Euro USD to slide all the way down to $1.10. And of course, you know, we'll see how price moves over the next few days and weeks. It's really been trapped within this channel, this descending channel. We've been seeing price move and test the top of the channel and then the bottom of the channel on this daily time frame. But we're still believing that price should move lower on the Euro USD. So then that's our bias for now, is to look for price to slide lower. And the only thing that has me concerned a little bit is what we see on the US dollar index. You know, now based off of what we see on the Euro USD, my bias is still to the downside. I'm looking to sell the Euro USD. I'm trading in favor of the dollar. However, if we look at the Dixie or the US dollar index, you'll see something, you know, a little bit different to some degree. If you go, let's go to the daily, and then what we're going to do, we're going to go to the Dixie or the US dollar index. So we're going to the US dollar index. And right now on the US dollar index, you see that price tested this strong zone or this common zone of resistance. So then we could still see price break to the upside. But the reason why I'm concerned is that we saw price test this zone or area of supply or resistance. And at the same time, we see stochastics is overbought. It's at 80. So then, you know, it could lead to some retracement or correction in price. We don't know. But right now, we're still bullish on the dollar right now. And that's just something for you guys to know. Price could retest this zone again and then fall back down. So then that's something to be mindful of, mainly because of how momentum is. Whenever price was overbought on the US dollar index, you saw a slide lower. Every time it was overbought, you saw a slide lower. Every time it was overbought, you saw a slide lower or a shift in momentum. So then if you look at it, you see that it slid lower. There was a fall lower, a shift in momentum lower. It was overbought here, shift in momentum lower, slide lower. Overbought here, we saw a slide lower, and it's overbought again. And we could see the same thing happen again. So then that's the reason why I'm concerned. We could see dollar weakness come into the market, and we could see the Euro USD push higher. So then that's my only reason for being concerned. So then right now, I'm just sticking to what my original bias was on the Euro USD, which was to short the Euro USD. But anything can happen on the Euro USD, mainly because of how we're seeing the US dollar move and behave. So then that's one thing I wanted to say about the US dollar index, is that we're hitting a strong area of supply or resistance, and price is stochastic is already overbought, and we could see another attempt to slide lower or fall lower in price. Yeah. So then, our hope, good morning, everyone. This is me, Marvin. So then our hope is that we see, this technical channel that was formed on the daily for the Dixie. Our hope is that price would respect, that it'll hold, and we'll see a continuation of the firming of the dollar and a continuation of it maintaining this channel higher. So then that's the hope for now. You got to keep in mind that the US dollar index is a value of the US dollar in comparison to a basket of currencies. And we know that the euro has the greatest weight when considering the currencies that are within this basket. So then typically it's a decent indicator of what we may see in the euro US dollar pair, but not all the time will we actually see direct correlation or similar type of price behavior, because you got to keep in mind that each of these currency pairs move independent of one another. They have their own type of fundamentals and own type of reasoning behind why they move. So just because we see in one particular asset or instrument prices move in a particular direction doesn't mean we may see the same exact type of price behavior in another. So what we're going to do for the Euro USD, let's go back to the Euro USD. We're just going to trade technically what we see. Yeah. So then, even though we saw, with the Dixie and it's hitting that zone of supply, that zone of resistance, we're still going to maintain our typical bias, which is to look at the technical clues, follow the technical clues, and trade on what we see. But for the Euro USD, it's pretty interesting because this is considered the most liquid pair out of all the currency pairs. But for today, we're seeing not as much follow through or not as much liquidity. We're still seeing a continuation or a handover of that same holiday type of activity even beyond the long Easter weekend. So then this is pretty interesting, because then we got to ask ourselves, what's the reason for this limited restricted price action? What's the reasoning behind why it's maintaining consolidation? And really it could be a sign of either market indecision or just the market is waiting for a further or stronger catalyst in order to drive prices in a particular direction. For me, my bias is Euro USD to the downside, for one, because of manufacturing PMIs coming out of the Eurozone, especially Germany, falling to huge lows. So then that's exerting pressure. That's, in my opinion, that exerts some pressure on the euro. But also dealing with the actual US 10-year and German 10-year spreads, which we don't have time to cover right now. But for those of you guys that are part of our premium trading community, we'll be discussing that on tomorrow. But yeah, our bias is to trade the euro to the downside, Euro USD, to remain short, and to stick with our original bias. So yeah, are there any questions about the Euro USD before we move forward and talk about our next pair? Remember, we're still going to stay short. We're still going to, stay with that original bias of being bearish the Euro USD. Even though what we see with the Dixie may cause for some level of concern, but we're just going to trade what we see on the Euro USD. Just stick to the technicals. Okay, so yeah, I don't think there's any questions. So then what we can do for now is definitely move to our next pair, which is a US dollar Japanese yen, which has been a funny pair to trade lately. But let me take you guys there right now. Now, if there's any pair that I'm telling you guys to be a little bit hesitant on, it's definitely this pair. But what we see right here, let me just of course zoom in and drag this down. We saw that price has been really climbing higher on the US dollar Japanese yen. For the past few weeks, it's been on this tear or this move to the upside, but price has found resistance at this key structural zone of resistance right here. If you look left, you can see structure leaves clues. We see it was resistance here, support here, support here. The same zone or this area functioned as support and resistance at one point in price history. So then this is a key level. It was resistance right here as well. But you guys get the point. What we see right here is this common level or zone of supply or resistance, and price hit this area and it started to consolidate. But if you look at just the way these candles have been for the past few days, if you just zoom in right here, the reason why I'm hesitant is that we see all these wicks to the downside right here, which means that there's still buying pressure, and we never seen a lower low and a lower close. Typically, whenever prices are shifting and there's a movement or slide lower, we typically want to see what we see right here. Let me just show you guys. So then for this candle right here, we saw this doji or the spinning top, but then in the following candle we saw this bearish candle, and the body of this candle closed below the low of that previous candle. And typically, whenever you want to see nice defined moves in a particular direction, you want to see lower lows and lower closes. But in this case, we do not get that, which means that right now price is mainly just in consolidation. It's in a nice big period of indecision, and pretty much price is trapped between these lows. It seems like it's creating new lows like every single day almost. But you know, prior to yesterday, this was a low, but ever since today, it made a new low. So then we don't want to do anything in this pair until we see price break the range. So then let me just draw in this range right here. So then we're going to draw in a horizontal line right at this low right here. And we're going to draw a new horizontal line right at this high right here. And we're not really going to do anything until price breaks either this line or this level to the upside, or whether price breaks below and closes below this line. However, you got to be extra careful because you know, I still believe that there could be some upside momentum, that this is just really a corrective phase. What we're seeing is a corrective phase with all this consolidation and these indecision candles, you could say. This is really just a corrective phase, a correction in anticipation for a nice impulsive move to the upside. That's just what I believe. So then we may see a return to some risk appetite depending on how things par. I know we have the US-China trade relations, and I know last week there was some level of optimism with that, but only time will tell what happens in regards to that. But we just have to wait and see how price breaks these levels. So then we have this low at 111.65, you could say, or you know, 111.66, and then we have this high at 112.17, you could say. So then we just have to wait and see price break either to the downside or break to the upside. I'm not going to do anything with this pair until I see a break of those levels, a break and close of those levels. Yeah, and actually we may not see that until the later half of this week, or until, you know, later on Wednesday, moving into Thursday, when the BOJ or the Bank of Japan releases their next monetary policy announcement, or their decision on interest rates. So then, of course, we're seeing it maintain this consolidation. It seems like, just like Melvin said, it's going through some type of complex corrective type consolidation phase, because we see it breaking new lows here. But it hasn't closed. Yeah, it hasn't closed below those lows. So we can see that for a period of time, there was some safe haven flows into the yen, but it hasn't been quite sustained. We're seeing it maintain, you know, above this 111.65 level. That's the low that was formed earlier today, but you can see here how it's still fairly below this 112 handle, that it's having a hard time breaking above that 112 handle, and that's due to, you know, this area of supply that we see up here. But until tomorrow, until after the Bank of Japan announcement, we may see some get an idea of what they may decide to do, or what the US dollar Japanese yen may do following the release of that monetary policy report. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to share for the US dollar versus Japanese yen. Typically, what would traditionally be a good rule is to look at the US 10-year Treasury yield just to get an idea, because typically there's a correlation between the US 10-year Treasury yield and the US dollar Japanese yen. You can look at that in your own time to sort of get an idea of what could potentially happen. But for the most part, just like we've said before, if you look at the price action for the US dollar Japanese yen, it's still maintaining that range. It's still limited in its price action, and we may see that continue until after tomorrow's Bank of Japan monetary policy statement. Yeah. So then, I mean, there's a number of things we can do even with this particular pair. I know what some people would do is they'll just wait for a price to break either to the upside. And if price does break to the upside, then this is what you can do. You can do something similar to this, where we see price, break to the upside right here. And then once you get that break to the upside, you would wait for price to correct right back into this zone to test this range, and then you would look for a buying opportunity to the upside. And it's sort of similar to what we would see here. I know on yesterday we did get a break and close below this low. We just didn't see it on the daily time frame. But I'm still a little iffy, mainly due to how that candle closed on the daily. So then, I would love to see price push lower and break below this low right now. And if we do get that break below that low, then wait for the correction into this zone, and then for a bearish confirmation to set in before we look for the push lower. So that's what we're looking for the US dollar Japanese yen. We're pretty much in wait and see mode. So then I would suggest that you guys sit on your hands on this pair for now. Don't do anything. If you are going to have a bias, go short, but I'm going to stay out of it for now until I see more confirmation or clear signals that we could be seeing either a bearish move, a bearish rotation, or we could see bullish continuation. So then right now I'm at a standstill on this pair. I don't have a bias right now, and I'm just waiting for the breakout. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Did you have something you wanted to share? Well, no, I was just gonna add how, even with the US dollar versus Japanese yen, just like what I mentioned about the Bank of Japan, they will be releasing their report. It will be actually Thursday, into the Asian session. So then for those of you guys that are in the US, that'll be actually tomorrow night. We may see the see a release of the Bank of Japan report. And right now there's sort of like I wouldn't say there's a quarrel, so some type of disagreement, but there's some that feel like the fight against deflation is pretty much irrelevant now. So then once we saw that, that there was some disagreement on the current easy monetary policy that the Bank of Japan holds, we saw this US dollar versus Japanese yen slide lower, and we saw yen strength as risk aversion kicked in for a little bit, but then that was completely faded, and we saw the US dollar Japanese yen pop up and recover. So then that just leaves me to believe that overall the sentiment is still to buy US dollar versus Japanese yen, and that we will continue to see this break higher. Especially considering when certain statements like that didn't have any follow through. There wasn't any follow through of it. We see that it encountered some demand down here, and the fact that it didn't continue lower just leaves me to believe that the main bias for US dollar Japanese yen is bullish to the upside. And that's the side of the trade I'm on, to actually go long on the US dollar versus Japanese yen. And what we could see here, just like we mentioned before, is just a complex correction. And if you do draw this in, you can sort of almost see it. Let me just you can draw in these lows right here. And And then from there, you can also draw in sort of like these highs to some degree. So we could be in the midst of this complex correction, and we could see price break this sort of like trend line to the upside. But my thing is just to wait for price to break this high before we do anything. But yeah, that's how I'm going to play the US dollar, Japanese yen. So are there any questions about anything before we close out for today? It could be about anything. It could be about a pair, an asset. It could be even about our premium private trading community. For those who may not know, we do have a private trading group where we actually teach more information, and you can join for $1 if you want to. We still have that deal in play where you could test it out for 14 days for $1. And if you don't like it, then you can always cancel. You can send us an email, or you can cancel from within your membership. Because there's a link within your membership profile to cancel, and you will not have to pay a single dollar or single cent. But you can come and just test this out for 14 days and see if it's worth the investment. But I was going to say, yeah, for those of you guys, if you guys have any questions about anything currency related, anything in the financial markets, this is your time. I know the reason why we do these technical Tuesdays is just to provide an opportunity to answer some of your questions, whether it's things dealing with technical analysis, things dealing with any type of instrument that you're looking at, or just fundamentals, market fundamentals. We may not know everything because I haven't been following up on a lot of stuff yet, but we'll try our best to answer some of your questions that you may have. So then we're just going to give you guys some time. But if not, then we'll just close out this morning's session and just really, thank you guys for coming. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So then we'll see how these pairs move for today. I know for the Euro USD, we're still bearish, still looking for that pair to slide lower. And for the US dollar, Japanese yen, we're pretty much neutral. We're just waiting for the breakout. So then that's pretty much it, guys, for those two pairs. But if you don't have any questions, I guess we can close out for today. But thank you guys so much for coming. I really do hope you guys got something from today's session. Remember, we want to help you guys out. Truly, we do. We decided to have these technical Tuesdays just to give you guys, especially the free members, just some helpful information, to give you a taste of of really how we approach the markets, and help you guys do proper technical analysis. But thanks, Marie, for coming. I know Marie's one of our private premium VIP members, so thanks so much for coming. But I guess there's not too many questions, so that we could definitely close out. Thank you guys so much for coming. We really do appreciate you guys. And we'll definitely see you guys next week on our next Technical Tuesday session. So then stay blessed, stay encouraged. And yeah, and I know for those that are premium members, we'll definitely see you tomorrow. So then thanks again, everyone, for coming. And we'll see you guys soon. You have a wonderful, blessed day. All right, talk to you guys later. All right, thanks, Paul. All right, talk to you guys later. All right.